All right, gentlemen, Meg Tao, Meg Tao. I've got one here for you that's an absolute perler. Just, you know, you won't believe it. You really won't. Anyway, Daily Mail today came out. Unemployed law graduate who was lavished with jewels by her businesswoman girlfriend she treated as a cash cow during their 16 years together wins legal fight for half of their $1.7 million home. Okay, Sri Ladwa, 43, was in a 16-year relationship with Beverly Chapman, 46. My godfather, 43 and 46. Businesswoman Mrs. Chapman said she was used as a cash cow by unemployed ex. Mrs. Ladwa said she was entitled to half of the $1.7 million pound, 1.7, wow, that's about $2.3 million Australian, like any other housewife. There we go. The judge ruled that the couple agreed when the house was bought that it would be owned by them together and that Mrs. Ludlaw is thus entitled to half the sale. Wow. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the two lovely women in toad here. This is the rich businessman woman. This is the man side, and this is the female side. And you can see the look on her face, mate. She's not a very happy chappy, even though she's very, very wealthy. When I read this to you, you won't believe how much money this woman here has forked over to this other woman. And it just goes to show that a woman can take another woman. It's not just a man that gets taken. Because when I read this to you, you know, it'll blow you away. An unemployed law graduate who's accused of living off her cash cow rich girlfriend has now won a legal battle for half of their 1.7. We got to that. Here we go. But a judge decided that although Mrs. Chapman has made substantially greater contributions, I'll say, she paid the thing off. To the purchase of the house, it was paid for through a joint account of both of the women were named as owners and awarded Mrs. Ludwa half of the property. Like, it's just amazing. I love this, guys. I love this. Two women, right? And she's going to get treated exactly the same as any male. The court heard Mrs. Chapman work to fund their luxury lifestyle, paying off the mortgage, buying Mrs. Ludlow an Aston Martin for her birthday, and proposing with a diamond ring on a Monte Carlo cliff top. Big time here. So obviously she's a pretty wealthy chick. So we'll go down here. Sorry about the ads and shit, guys. I can't get rid of this crap on the side. But here we go. Ruling on the case, Judge Stephen Murch found that it was their common intention on buying the house that would be jointly owned, and he rejected Mrs. Chapman's claim that she was only transferred the house into joint names because of Mrs. Ludlaw's undue influence. I'll bet, man, she was on that ass, man. She wanted half that house. Having seen Miss Chapman give evidence, I cannot accept that Mrs. Ludlow was the kind of person that could make her act against her will. And he added, unfortunately, I was left with the impression that Miss Chapman, and Miss Ladwa, has convinced herself that her version of events is to be preferred, regretting what she now perceives to have been undue generosity when she was in a relationship with Miss Ludwa. Central London County Court heard the couple began dating in 2000 and they lived together from very early on in their relationship. Mrs. Chapman worked in her family's successful building business. Fuck, it must be successful. I mean, seriously, that's some serious money. While Miss Ladwa was a third-year law student at the age of 43. She's a student, so she's been a student all of her life, guys. That's all she knows. Her degree did not lead to a permanent job, nor her time training at Cookery College, Le Cordon Bleu. Miss Chapman's lawyers told the court. So even though she did extensive things and tried to learn how to do cooking, all she did is just take more courses after course after course. And of course, she's a professional in everything, right? Because that's how they roll, these professional students. They're professional students. The house near Chingford was bought for $1.4 million in 2007 in Mrs. Chapman's name, but within a year transferred into their joint names. It is now thought to be worth $1.7 million. The relationship finally ended in 2016 when the judge heard Mrs. Ludlow gave back her $75,000 engagement rings. My godfather, this woman, man, really, really lashed out on her partner. You know, she really fell in love with it, just like a man would. And she's bought all the presents and she's bought him everything, just like a man would. And at the end of the day, lady, you're going to be left with nothing. The woman, your wife, is going to take all of it. The bitter falling out led to a court fight as the woman argued over ownership of the house, and Miss Chapman sued for the return of alleged loans, designer shoes, bags and jewellery by Cartier, Christian Dior and Louis Vuitton, and the proceeds of sale of the Aston Martin. In court, Mrs. Chapman said she was treated as a cash cow by her ex, who lawyers claimed did not do a proper day's work during the relationship. A proper day's work, like she's never fucking done anything, basically. You know what I'm saying, guys? Professional student, man. You'll come home and the house is filthy, dishes in the fucking sink. Professional students like to soak their dishes. They don't wash their dishes. They just leave them in the water and they soak them, and then they come back and change the water again. And then that's how they wash dishes, right? And you'll get sick of it if you ever live with a fucking student, because you end up doing all the cleaning. They don't do anything. They fucking don't do anything. Miss Ladler, only income was £25,000 a year allowance. Fucking hell, from her mother. That's fucking great, isn't it, guys, to get 25 grand a year from her mother? So that's like £500 a week, just living expenses from her mum. Fuck. And she's 43. She's 43 years old. Alleging undue influence, she claimed Mrs. Ludlow behaved like a child, begging for a toy, constantly badgering her until she relented. You get to the point where you're really tired of hearing the same thing again and again and again. Well, you should have been warned, lady. You should have taken that as a real fucking, big sign there that the bitch is fucking wanting the house. She had loaned almost £400,000 to Miss Ludlow over the years, much of which was used by her ex to trade shares on the stock market, and you fucking lost. So you lost £400,000 on the fucking stock exchange. You fucking goose. But Miss Ladwar said she had tried hard to get a solicitor's training contract, and she had never pressured and never hassled Mrs. Chapman over the house. They've told me it would be easy to secure the mortgage if it was just in her sole name. It was always going to be our home, our future home. I trusted her. Aren't those words a man says? Aren't those words, you know what I mean? That's, the wife and all that. That's exactly what the wife would say, right, in the man's trial, right? Her barrister said it was a relationship of love and affection, and Miss Chapman had merely been honouring a promise to a partner of many years when she agreed to put the house in joint names. Oh, comparing the case with a divorce battle, yep, because that's exactly what it is. He said Miss Ludwar was effectively the housewife, and while she, Chapman, was out of money, making money for them to live on. Does that sound familiar, guys? Does that sound familiar? Ruling on the case, Judge Murch said the house had been bought largely with money from their joint bank account, including the proceeds of sale of their previous home. Even if Miss Chapman had made substantially greater contributions to the account, it was a joint account which they must have regarded as joint property. I accept that they agreed that, although the property was to be purchased in Miss Chapman's whole name, as soon as the mortgage could be discharged, the property would be transferred to their joint names. From this, it must follow that the parties' common intention at the time of the purchase was that they would be joint owners of it. He said that although the couple moved out of the house in 2013, the relationship continued at rented homes in Kew and Covent Garden. There were at least two subsequent marriage proposals. So she's really tried to marry this woman, but the woman is worth more to her divorced than she is married to her, right? Because she's going to get a huge payday, just a massive payday. Dismissing Miss Chapman's claims for return of jewellery, shoes and handbags, together worth around £130,000, plus the £400,000 that she fucking borrowed to her. So there's £530,000, plus £1.7 million for the fucking house. So this woman's really fucking right. You know what I'm saying? She's really got to fucking cop it in the ass big time, right? And I love it. I think it's just fucking hilarious. I think it's just fantastic, and I'm grateful for the judge to, put her in the same shoes as what a man would be, because a man gets the same treatment. Miss Chapman had the economic strength in the relationship, and it also was not expected that Miss Ludwar would pay back the money she was given over the years. There were substantial sums of money. I do not accept, however, that they at any stage regarded them as a loan. So you just, substantial sums of money. She's just been taking money off her all the time. My reason for this is that they were all at all times in a relationship in which they understood perfectly that Miss Chapman had greater wealth than Miss Ludwar. Although Miss Ludwar had been a law student when they met, I do not doubt that on starting her studies, she had intended to pursue a career in law, and this never happened. No, she's a professional fucking student. That's all she's ever done, is been a student. It is not clear to me why Miss Ludwar did not secure a training contract. It was because she's a professional student. That's why. She's not going to go out and get a job. She's going to go and do another course. There's always another course. It is clear to me, however, that they knew that she had not done so. The only income which she said she was the allowance from her mother. Miss Chapman knew that Miss Ludwar had no income from a job, and over time saw that this was not changing. It can never be and never have been envisaged that Miss Ludwar would pay them back. I cannot conclude that it was ever discussed. The judge ruled that the couple agreed when the house was bought that it would be owned by them together, and that in later transferring it into joint names. Miss Chapman had not been subjected to undue pressure. Nothing changed afterwards to suggest that their intentions as to ownership of the property had altered, he found. The decision means the property is held in equal shares by the woman, and that Miss Ludwar does not have to return the money or the designer goods she was given. The case was considered in a 3-day hearing at a central London court in January, and the judge's ruling only now made public. Okay, so she was treated exactly the same as a male would and got shafted fucking big time. So she doesn't have to pay back any of the money that she gave her, any of the goods that she fucking received for free. She doesn't have to give them back any of the, and she gets half of the $1.7 million fucking property. And I'm really surprised that she didn't go for spousal fucking support with this one. I'm really surprised, because she was used to a lifestyle that she'd been living for this amount of time and been receiving this amount of money and all of her stuff paid for and all this kind of stuff, right? All these trips and to Santa Monica and Louis Vuitton and Christian Dior and, Aston Martins for birthdays and stuff. I mean, could you imagine the lifestyle, right? So, and I'm really surprised she didn't go for spousal support to say that this is the lifestyle she's used to having. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, two lesbians in court fighting over the big substantial property here, $1.7 million worth, and she is being treated exactly like a man would normally be treated, and I fucking love it. Okay, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's my little story for today, and that's from the Daily Mail, and it was just released today. Today it was released Wednesday, September the 5th. So I jumped on it as soon as I came home from work, and I normally read this anyway. I'm a paid subscriber to this. So anyway, have a good day. Thank you very much, and thank you for viewing.